The dinner is cold again. Ethan notices this the way you notice a bruise, not with alarm, just with the dull recognition that it's still there. The pasta has gone stiff in its bowl, the sauce congealed at the edges into a dark, waxy ring. He set the table at 7. It is now past 9. He pulls out his chair, sits down alone, and eats without heeding it. Through the wall he can hear Lily Rose laughing at something on her phone. The sound is bright and easy, the kind of laugh she used to give him. He can't make out the words, just the melody of her amusement, punctuated by the soft slide of her thumb on glass. The light under the bedroom door is blue and flickering, she's watching something, or talking to someone, or both. He eats. He doesn't knock. This is the shape of their evenings now. 3 months before the wedding, and the apartment already feels like two separate countries sharing a border neither of them will name. He'd proposed on a Tuesday, because she'd once told him she hated the pressure of big occasions. He'd gotten down on one knee in the kitchen, right here, over scrambled eggs. She'd said yes, before he finished asking, grabbed his face with both hands, kissed him hard. That was 14 months ago. He sets his fork down and looks at the ring on the table, she takes it off when she's home, says it catches on things. He used to believe her. He carries his bowl to the sink, washes it, and dries it, and sets it back in the cabinet. He does not knock on the bedroom door. He makes up the couch cushions into something approximating a bed and lies down in the dark and stares at the ceiling until the blue light under the door goes out. He doesn't sleep. The office is easier. At the office, Ethan knows exactly what is expected of him and delivers it without drama. He is a project coordinator at a mid-size logistics firm, the kind of job that exists in every city, in every glass building, invisible and necessary, like load-bearing walls. His manager, a man named Carter who smells faintly of ambition and menthol cigarettes, barely registers his presence except when something goes wrong. When something goes wrong, Ethan fixes it. Carter takes the credit. Ethan doesn't argue. He sits at the third desk from the window on a Tuesday morning, drafting a shipping route correction, when his phone buzzes. It's Milo. "Hey, bro, you still coming to Jake's thing on Friday?" Ethan types back yes, without hesitating. Milo is his oldest friend, they'd grown up 3 streets apart, shared a college dorm, been each other's best man at mutual friends' weddings. He'd been the first person Ethan called after Lily Rose said yes. He'd brought champagne over that same night and toasted to Ethan being, and this was Milo's exact phrasing, the luckiest idiot alive. Ethan smiles a little at his phone, then puts it face down on the desk. He goes back to the shipping route. Outside, the city moves past the glass in smears of yellow and gray. The week before the wedding, everything shifts. Not loudly. That's the thing no one tells you, the big breaks don't arrive with thunder. They arrive like a drawer that won't quite close, a window that doesn't seal, a sound that shouldn't be there at 2 in the morning. He wakes up because the bedroom door opens. He keeps his eyes closed, kept his breathing even. He hears Lily Rose cross the apartment in bare feet, the slight creak of the third floorboard, the kitchen tap running briefly, the refrigerator opening and closing. Then her feet cross back. Then the door shuts. But there is something wrong. She's wearing perfume. Not the perfume she wears to bed. Not the light cotton and cedar thing she keeps on the bathroom shelf. This is something warmer. Heavier. Something that costs more than she'd ever buy for herself. He lies still on the couch for a very long time. He doesn't knock. The rehearsal dinner is at a restaurant his mother helped choose. Round tables, white linens, the kind of place where everything on the menu is described with a geographic origin and a farmer's first name. Lily Rose arrives 20 minutes late in a dress he hasn't seen before, and she is radiant, genuinely radiant, that particular brightness that comes from being looked at by someone whose opinion you care about. He watches her scan the room when she walks in. She doesn't look for him first. Her eyes go to the far table by the window, and something in her face settles. Then she turns, finds Ethan, and crosses the room to kiss him hello. The kiss lands at the corner of his mouth. Her lips are cold from outside, but her cheek, when it brushes his, is warm. Milo is at the far table by the window. Ethan picks up his glass and finishes what's left in it. Dinner proceeds. Toasts are made. His mother cries a little. Milo gives a speech about Ethan that is generous and funny and delivered to the room at large. He makes eye contact with everyone, working the table like a professional, and only twice does his gaze drift to Lily Rose. Twice is enough. Ethan watches the way she laughs at Milo's punchlines a half-second before anyone else. Like she already knows them. He says nothing. He shakes hands and thanks people and holds Lily Rose's hand when she offers it and lets himself be steered through photographs, first dances, borrowed time. At the end of the night, when the restaurant empties out and the staff begin gathering tablecloths, he sits alone with his glass while the last guests pull on their coats. He feels something settling into place inside him. Not rage. Not grief. Something quieter and colder and far more dangerous. The kind of thing that doesn't move when you poke it. He finishes his drink. He doesn't knock. The morning of the wedding, Ethan puts on the suit. It's charcoal, cut well, chosen by Lily Rose during a Saturday afternoon 6 weeks ago that he can still remember in good detail, the way the tailor's shop smelled of cedar and chalk, the way she tilted her head assessing him, the way she'd said that's the one in a voice that sounded like she meant it about more than the jacket. He knots his tie in the bathroom mirror and studies himself for a moment. He doesn't look like a man who knows. He looks like a man getting married. His phone sits on the bathroom shelf. He's had it face down all morning. There is a voicemail he hasn't listened to yet. It came in at 4:17 a.m. from a number he doesn't recognize. He'd heard it buzz. He'd waited until now. He picks up the phone. He presses play. The voice on the message is a woman's, low, unsteady, slightly breathless, as if she is speaking from inside a running car or a poorly insulated room. Mr. Hargrove. I know this is wrong, what I'm doing, and I know you probably don't even know who I am. My name is Anna. I work at, it doesn't matter. I'm a friend of Lily's. I've been trying to decide for 3 weeks whether to make this call and she doesn't know I'm doing this. She'd be furious if she knew. But you need to know something before today. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They've been, for 7 months. I've seen them. I can tell you where to find everything, if you want it. The message is. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't marry her today. The voicemail ends. The bathroom is very quiet. Ethan sets the phone down on the shelf. He looks at himself in the mirror for a long time, the suit, the tie, the face that has been absorbing things without reacting for months and months. He looks at his own eyes. There is something in them he hasn't seen before. Not fire. The opposite of fire. He picks up the phone, dials back. No answer. He tries twice more. He puts the phone in his jacket pocket. He walks out of the bathroom. The wedding venue is a converted warehouse in the Arts District, exposed brick, candle clusters, pale eucalyptus hanging from reclaimed wood beams. Lily Rose chose everything. It's beautiful in the specific way of things that have been very carefully curated to look effortless. He arrives early, while staff are still arranging chairs. He finds a seat near the window and waits. He watches people come in, her family, his family, mutual friends, colleagues, Milo's parents who have always been kind to him. He shakes hands and nods and says thank you for coming, and it's a beautiful day and none of it requires him to be present. At some point, Milo appears at his shoulder. Big day, Milo says. He looks good. He always looks good. He's wearing a deep navy suit, and there's something about the way he positions himself, slightly angled, weight on the back foot, that reads as someone who has decided where the exits are.
Yeah,
Ethan says. You nervous? No, Ethan says. Milo laughs. Not even a little? Ethan looks at him directly, and something in his expression makes Milo's laugh go quiet halfway through. Not anything dramatic. Just a kind of flatness, a stillness, the sense of standing in front of a door that is locked when you expected it to open. I'm fine, Ethan says. Thanks for being here. The ceremony begins. The music starts. The guests rise. The doors at the far end of the aisle open. Lily Rose walks through them on her father's arm, and she is, genuinely, objectively, agonizingly beautiful. The dress is ivory, simple, with a long train that whispers across the wood floor. She's done something with her hair that catches the light. She looks like the best version of herself, the version he fell in love with, the version that exists at full brightness when someone is watching her with the right kind of attention. She walks toward Ethan. He watches her. He doesn't move. He doesn't cry. He stands at the altar and watches her come closer, and his hands are perfectly still at his sides. She reaches him. Her father lifts her veil. She smiles, the real smile, the one that crinkles the outside corners of her eyes, the one he hasn't received in months. The officiant begins. Dearly beloved. The phone in Ethan's jacket pocket vibrates. He doesn't reach for it. We are gathered. He watches Lily Rose's face. She is present in a way she hasn't been with him in a very long time. But she isn't looking at him, she's looking at a fixed point somewhere just past his left shoulder. He turns his head a fraction of an inch. Follows the line. She is looking at Milo. Milo, standing in the front row of guests, arms folded loosely, expression arranged into something appropriate and congratulatory. But his eyes are on her. And her eyes are on him. And between them, for just a moment, a conversation passes that has nothing to do with anyone else in the room. Ethan faces forward. Ethan, the officiant says pleasantly, do you take Lily Rose? No, Ethan says. The word lands like a stone dropped into still water. First the impact, then the rings spreading out. Silence. Lily Rose blinks. She looks at him, actually looks at him, for the first time maybe since the kitchen 14 months ago. No, she says. Her voice is barely above a whisper. He keeps his voice low, too. Private. Just between them. 7 months, he says. And a voicemail at 4:17 in the morning. And the perfume you wore to bed that one night. He pauses. I know, Lily. Her face does something complicated, cycles through expressions too fast to track, ending somewhere that isn't quite guilt and isn't quite anger but is something in between, something he recognizes as the expression of someone who has been caught but is still calculating. Ethan. You can keep the dress, he says. He removes the microphone clip from his lapel, sets it on the altar, and walks back down the aisle. The guests part. He moves through them like something cold through water, not hurrying, not running, just walking at a steady and unhurried pace toward the doors. Someone reaches for his arm, his mother, probably, and he doesn't stop. The eucalyptus sways slightly from the movement of air as he passes. He pushes through the doors. The sunlight outside is very bright and very ordinary. A catering truck is parked across the street. A pigeon is working on something near the curb. The world is moving at its usual speed, indifferent to what just happened 40 feet behind him. His phone vibrates again. He takes it out. Unknown number, the same one as before. He answers this time. Mr. Hargrove. It's the woman from the voicemail. Anna. She sounds like she's been crying, or close to it. Is everything. I didn't marry her, he says. A long pause. Oh, thank God, she whispers. Then, are you all right? He thinks about how to answer that. The catering truck across the street has a logo on the side, a cartoon chef with a spoon. One of the chef's eyes is slightly larger than the other, giving the whole image an accidental expression of mild alarm. I'll survive, he says. There's more, Anna says. Things I didn't include in the message. Things I think you should know, about Lily, about Milo. About who they've been talking to and why. She hesitates. About your grandfather. Ethan goes very still. My grandfather has been dead for 2 years, he says. I know, Anna says. That's exactly the problem. He doesn't go home that night. He checks into a hotel, nothing expensive, one of those business district places with laminate furniture and a minibar that requires a key, and he sits on the bed in his wedding suit with his shoes still on and he talks to Anna for 3 hours. She worked as a legal assistant at a firm he's never heard of, handling estate documentation. She'd come into contact with Lily Rose through a mutual friend at a gallery opening 8 months ago, and they'd become, if not close friends, frequent acquaintances. Anna is the kind of person who notices things and keeps her mouth shut about them, usually. She'd kept her mouth shut for 7 months. The voicemail was the first time she'd broken that rule. She walks him through it slowly. His grandfather, his mother's father, a quiet man named Edmund Hargrove who had died of a stroke 2 winters ago in a hospital room with a blue ceiling, had not been, as Ethan always understood, simply retired. He had been, for 40 years, the anonymous majority shareholder and silent architect of a private investment firm called Hargrove Capital Holdings. Not the kind of company that appears in newspapers. The kind that doesn't need to. Edmund had structured everything, according to the estate documents Anna had seen, to pass to his sole blood heir upon the heir's 30th birthday, or upon the heir's marriage, whichever came first. Ethan is 29 and 11 months old. His wedding day would have been the trigger. Lily knew, Anna says. She says it carefully, like she's handing over something fragile. I don't know how she found out, the estate documents were sealed, but she knew. Or Milo knew. He has a connection to the firm, a legal contact. They put it together months ago. That's why she agreed to move up the wedding date. A pause. Once she was your legal spouse, she'd have had a claim on the inheritance. They plan to, after a year or 2, they plan to file for divorce. Split the estate. Ethan sits with the phone against his ear and looks at the wall. There's a water stain above the desk in the shape of something he can't identify. He focuses on it. How big is the estate, he asks. The number Anna gives him is not large. It is enormous. It is a number that reorders the room he's sitting in, reorders the hotel, reorders the catering truck and the pigeon and the 14 months of cold dinners and unlocked bedroom doors. They would have taken most of it, Anna says. Milo had already drafted a divorce strategy with the legal contact. He was positioning himself as a financial advisor post-divorce. They had the whole thing mapped. Ethan says nothing for a long time. Mr. Hargrove? Ethan, he says. Just Ethan. Ethan. Are you? I'm fine, he says. And he finds, as he says it, that he almost is. The thing inside him, that cold, settled, unmovable thing, is still there. But it has shifted slightly, the way a compass needle shifts when it finds true north. He lies back on the hotel bed in his wedding suit. Anna, he says. What do you do, exactly? As work? Corporate estate administration, mostly. Lately asset management coordination. A pause. I'm very good at it, actually. I just lost my job this week because I made this call. He stares at the water stain. I might have something for you, he says. Give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks becomes 6, because nothing that is worth doing properly takes 2 weeks. But at the end of 6 weeks, Ethan has done the following things. He has turned 29 and 11 months into 30. He has sat in a boardroom he didn't know existed 3 weeks ago, in front of a table of people who have known his name since before he could pronounce it, and he has signed documents that rearrange the entire gravitational field of his life. He has moved out of the apartment and into a quiet place in a different part of the city. He has spoken to Jake, his friend, sharp-eyed and discreet and always good in a crisis, and told him most of what he knows. He has not contacted Lily Rose. He has not contacted Milo. He lets the silence sit. Hargrove Capital Holdings has, among its many holdings, a mid-size logistics firm in the business district. Third desk from the window, Carter who smells of menthol cigarettes. His grandfather, it turns out, had purchased a controlling stake 6 years ago. Nobody at the firm knows this. It's the kind of thing that gets held by a shell entity under a name that doesn't mean anything to anyone who isn't looking. Ethan looks at the org chart. He looks at it for a long time. He calls Anna. I have a job for you, he says. HR Director, new division. A pause. There may also be some hiring decisions I'd like your input on. He hears her exhale slowly. What kind of hiring decisions? The kind where I need someone I trust to conduct the initial interviews. Someone who can assess qualifications accurately and won't be influenced by personal history. Another pause. Is this about her? It might be, he says. If she applies. Lily Rose applies. She applies because she needs a job. The wedding fallout has been extensive, the apartment lease was in Ethan's name, and she hadn't thought about that. Milo's financial situation, it turns out, was significantly more aspirational than actual, a discovery she made in the weeks after the wedding when the credit card rejections started accumulating. The inheritance scheme had been their long-term plan, and without Ethan, the long-term plan has no foundation. She sends her resume to 7 companies. 6 respond. One of the 6 is a new division of a logistics firm she's heard of distantly, has no particular feelings about, and the job listing pays well and asks for experience she genuinely has. She has a degree in business administration. She is capable, when she wants to be, of considerable professional competence. She interviews with a woman named Anna. Anna is calm and pleasant and asks excellent questions. Lily Rose leaves the interview feeling good about it. She doesn't recognize Anna, their mutual friends' gallery opening was crowded and brief, and Lily Rose is not always attentive to people she doesn't immediately find useful. She gets the offer the next day. Mid-level project coordinator position. The title is not glamorous. The salary is better than she expected. She accepts. She starts on a Monday. The office is the standard shape of such offices, open plan, glass partitions, natural light handled competently, the smell of coffee and printer toner and mild collective ambition. She finds her desk, sets up her laptop, and gets her badge from reception. The badge has a lanyard with the company logo, a clean, minimal font, the kind of design you'd associate with something that takes itself seriously. She doesn't recognize the font. She gets to work. 3 weeks pass. She is, as she always is when properly motivated, efficient and presentable and good with clients. Carter, still her manager, still smelling of menthol, gives her decent reviews. The work is not challenging. She tells herself she'll move on in 6 months. The first time she hears the name Hargrove Holdings, it's in passing, someone mentions a parent company in a meeting, and she half hears it through the sound of someone else asking about a printer jam. The name moves through her brain like something caught briefly in peripheral vision. She almost stops. She doesn't stop. She files it somewhere and keeps working. The second time she hears the name is more specific. She's gathering documents for a briefing on an interdepartmental audit, the kind of routine consolidation that bubbles up quarterly, and the cover sheet has a letterhead she hasn't seen before. Hargrove Capital Holdings. And underneath, wholly owned operating subsidiary. She sits at her desk with the document in her hand for a moment. She thinks about the estate documents. Milo, on the phone at midnight, going through what he'd found with the precision of someone who had spent real time researching. Edmund Hargrove's estate. Sole blood heir. Effective trigger date, marriage or 30th birthday. Enormous. Ethan has no idea. She thinks about Ethan walking back down the aisle. She puts the document in the briefing folder and takes it to the conference room and says nothing to anyone. But something in her chest has gone tight, and it does not go loose again. The announcement goes out on a Wednesday. Company-wide email, all staff meeting at 3 p.m., conference room on the 4th floor. New executive leadership. Ethan gets the email the same as everyone else, along with a winking message from Jake, who has been briefed and finds the whole thing viscerally satisfying in a way he's working to modulate for professional reasons. Anna sends him a single text, she's been here 3 weeks. Front row, probably. He sends back, I know. He arrives at the building at 2:47. He has not been in this building in his coordinator capacity for 6 weeks. He has been in the executive suite on the 6th floor, but the access comes through a private entrance, and the elevator there doesn't stop at the floors where the open plan offices are. He has been, by design, invisible. He takes the main elevator. He rides it to the 4th floor. He walks into the conference room at 2:59, 1 minute before the meeting begins, through the door that the staff use, not the side door, not the executive entrance. Just the door. The room is at capacity. 40-some employees in chairs and leaning against walls, the energy of collective low-level curiosity and the mild anxiety that comes with all staff announcements. Carter is near the front, looking important. Anna is at the back, near the window, holding a coffee she isn't drinking. Lily Rose is in the 3rd row. She has her notebook open, pen ready. She is wearing the dark blazer she always wore to impress, and her hair is pulled back cleanly, and she looks like someone doing their job correctly, making a good impression, building towards something. She looks like herself. She doesn't look up when Ethan walks in. Dozens of people walk through that door. He takes a position at the front of the room. He doesn't use the podium. He stands slightly to the left of it, weight balanced, hands relaxed at his sides. The room settles. He begins. He keeps it brief, because brevity is more powerful than elaboration, and he has chosen his words carefully. He explains the ownership structure, not all of it, the relevant parts. Hargrove Capital Holdings. Controlling interest. New executive leadership, effective immediately. Operational changes coming. His voice is even and unhurried and not loud. He watches the room process. He watches Carter's expression go through several stages. He watches a woman near the window raise her hand and then lower it without asking anything. He watches the moment Lily Rose looks up. She looks up because she's been half listening while taking notes, and her pen stops moving at the words Hargrove Capital, and then she looks up because the voice attached to those words is familiar in the specific way of something you've been trying not to think about, and she finds the source of the voice at the front of the room, and she goes absolutely still. Their eyes meet. He holds her gaze for exactly 2 seconds. Not cold, not warm. Just present. Just clear. Then he looks at the room at large and continues speaking. Questions can go through the new HR office as always. Anna Reyes will be the point of contact for transition documentation. He pauses. Thank you for your time. He leaves through the same door he came through. He walks to the elevator and rides it up. Behind him, through the closing doors, he can just hear the room starting to move again, chairs, voices, the particular texture of 40 people rearranging a reality they weren't ready for. The week that follows is interesting. Carter calls in sick twice. Milo, who, this is the part even Ethan hadn't fully anticipated, has a consulting contract with the firm as a third-party vendor, tries to schedule a meeting with the new executive leadership through the normal channels. Anna receives the request. She sends back a polite note explaining that the vendor relationship is under review as part of the operational transition, and that she'll be in touch with a decision within 30 days. Milo calls Ethan's direct line that same afternoon. Ethan lets it go to voicemail. He listens to the message that evening in his office, feet on the edge of the desk, jacket over the back of the chair. Milo's voice is lower than usual, calibrated carefully towards something that wants to sound casual but isn't. Hey, man. It's Milo. I know it's weird, obviously. I just wanted to reach out personally, see if there's a way to, we've been friends a long time. I still think of you as a friend. I hope you know that. Anyway. Just wanted to talk. Give me a call whenever. The recording ends. He deletes it. He calls Jake instead, and they get dinner at a Thai place 3 blocks from the office and don't talk about business for 2 hours, and it is the best evening he's had in a long time. The review comes through at the end of the month. All vendor contracts are assessed on a standard framework: output quality, conflict of interest, value alignment with operational direction. Milo's consulting arrangement, under scrutiny, turns out to be a modest retainer for services that are, to put it professionally, redundant. The contract is not renewed. The notification goes out from the legal team with no personal note. It is not cruel. It is not even particularly pointed. It is just the ordinary operation of a company under new management, exercising standard due diligence. He learns, through Anna, that Milo calls the legal team twice after receiving it. That he attempts to escalate to the CEO office. That the message is received and acknowledged and not returned. Lily Rose, meanwhile, keeps working. This is the part Ethan had not entirely anticipated, and it gives him something to think about in the early mornings when he gets to the office before everyone else and stands at the window with his coffee and watches the city wake up. She had every opportunity to resign when she recognized him. She didn't. She came in the next day, and the day after that, and she is, by Carter's grudging admission and Anna's more measured assessment, genuinely good at her job. He doesn't know how to feel about that, precisely. He does know this, he doesn't want her to quit because of him. Not out of charity, and not out of cruelty either. He wants her to stay because the company runs better with competent people in it, and because whatever she did to him, this is a job she's doing correctly. What he also wants, what he hasn't quite named yet, even to himself, is for her to look him in the eye and say the actual truth. Not a calculated version. Not a performance. The truth, whatever it is. He waits. She comes to his office on a Thursday. She doesn't have an appointment. She tells the assistant it's a personal matter, and the assistant, who has been briefed on very little except that this particular individual is an existing employee with a current project file, no special status either way, checks the calendar and finds a 15-minute gap. He knows she's coming before she arrives. Anna texts him from downstairs, she's on the elevator. He takes his feet off the desk. He doesn't stand up. He stays seated, slightly angled, jacket on, looking at whatever was on his monitor before he stopped seeing it. She knocks twice. He says come in. She opens the door. She's in the blazer again. Her hair is down today, which she usually reserves for situations where she wants to appear softer. He notes this without judgment. She's carrying a flat folder, probably props, something to give the visit a professional frame, and she stops just inside the door and looks at the room for a moment before she looks at him. The office is not showy. He made sure of that. Dark wood, one plant, a desk that is solid but not aggressive, the kind of office that says someone actually works here. The view through the window is the city, looking the same as always. Hi, she says. Hi, he says. She comes in a few more steps. She sets the folder on the edge of the chair across from his desk. She doesn't sit. I didn't know, she says. About this. I didn't know you owned it when I took the job. I know, he says. She's quiet for a moment. Anna. The one who interviewed me. He doesn't confirm or deny. He waits. She was the one who called you, Lily says. It's not quite a question. She did. I'm not angry at her, Lily says, which is not what he expected. She looks out the window. I've thought about it a lot. Whether I'm angry. I keep coming back to the thing where the plan was real, Ethan. Milo's plan. I knew about it. I was part of it. She pauses. I want you to know that I know that. He looks at her. Okay. And I know that doesn't, I'm not asking for anything. I'm not here to ask you for anything. She finally looks at him directly, and he is surprised by her face in this moment, it's unguarded in a way he hasn't seen in years. I'm just here because I kept thinking I should say something real to you at some point, and I didn't know when else I'd have a reason to be in the same room. You could have emailed, he says. I know. I didn't want to. She picks up the folder, holds it against her chest. I think there was a part of me that actually, in the beginning, before Milo, I think I loved you actually. In the kitchen, with the scrambled eggs. I think that was real. He doesn't say anything. And then I got afraid, she says. Of you staying ordinary. Of everything staying small. She shakes her head slightly. Which is terrible. I know that's terrible. It is, he agrees. A pause. Outside, the city moves. I'm not going to fire you, he says. This conversation doesn't change anything professionally. You're good at your job and the company benefits from that, and that's what matters here. She nods. She looks slightly surprised. But, he says, and his voice is quiet and even and unhurried, we're also not anything to each other. Not anymore. If you need to transfer to a different division to make this work, Anna can arrange that. If you'd rather stay where you are, that's fine too. Either way, it doesn't involve me personally. She stands with the folder in her arms and looks at him for a moment. Okay, she says. She takes a breath. Thank you. Have a good afternoon, Lily. She nods. She walks to the door. She stops, once, with her hand on the frame, and she says, quietly, to the wall rather than to him. You look different. I know, he says. She leaves. He sits for a moment in the quiet. The plant on the windowsill catches a slant of light from the afternoon sun. The city continues doing what cities do. Somewhere in the building below him, 40-some employees are moving through their Tuesday with the particular mix of purpose and distraction that characterizes the living of ordinary days. He exhales. He picks up his coffee. It's gone cold. He drinks it anyway. Jake takes him for a drive on Saturday, out of the city on a road that follows the coastline north, past the exits with the outlet malls and the ones with the state parks, to a stretch of gray-brown beach where the wind comes in off the water and there is absolutely nothing to look at except the sea and the sky and the thin line where they meet. They park and walk down to the water's edge. Jake has brought coffee in a thermos, which he hands over without ceremony. They stand at the titline and watch the waves organize themselves from chaos into a brief, coherent shape, crash, and disperse. How's it going? Jake says. Fine, Ethan says. The company? Well. Her. Ethan drinks the coffee. It's better than the cold stuff from Thursday. She came to see me. I know. Anna told me. Of course she did. What did she want? He thinks about the conversation. The folder held against the chest, the unguarded face, I think I loved you in the kitchen. He thinks about whether he believes it and whether it matters. To say something real, he says. I think she actually did. Jake nods slowly. He's not surprised by much, Jake. It's one of his better qualities. What now? Jake says. Now nothing, Ethan says. Now the company keeps running. Now I do my job. He pauses. Now I figure out what I want. What do you want? He stands at the edge of the water and thinks about it. The wave comes up and almost reaches his shoes and pulls back. A bird somewhere behind them announces something to no one. To build something, he says. I think that's actually it. Not the inheritance. Not the holdings. Something I make. He pauses. Edmund built his thing over 40 years and no one knew his name. I think I want to understand how he did that. Jake is quiet. I found his journals, Ethan says. In the estate papers. He kept them in a ledger, he wrote everything in margins of old balance sheets. The estate lawyers thought they were just financial records. He smiles slightly. He wrote about my mother a lot. He wrote about me when I was born. He said, he stops. What? He said he hoped I'd be the kind of man who earns the thing he inherits. A pause. I don't know if I am yet. You left the wedding, Jake says. That's something. That's just not being an idiot. It's harder than it sounds, Jake says, and the honesty of this is so exact that it surprises a short laugh out of Ethan, and the laugh sounds strange in the sea air, unfamiliar, like something he'd forgotten how to do. He finishes the coffee. The wave comes back. This time it does reach his shoes, cold and definite, soaking the leather before retreating. He doesn't step back. He stands there and lets the water pull the sand out from under his heels and feels the slight, vertiginous instability of it, Then the water goes back. The sand resettles. He's still standing. 6 months after the wedding that wasn't, Hargrove Capital Holdings opens a new operational division, small, focused, built on a model that Edmund had outlined in his margin note journals as a theoretical framework he'd never had time to implement. The division's job is to identify small logistics operations in secondary markets that are being run well by people with no access to capital, and fund them properly. It's not glamorous. It doesn't make newspapers. But it's the first thing Ethan has built from zero, and he can feel the difference between holding something inherited and holding something made. Anna runs the administration with the specific, no-nonsense competence that has made her, in a short time, indispensable. Jake consults on legal structure. There are 5 people in the division and the 5th desk is Ethan's. Third from the window. He chose it deliberately. On a Tuesday afternoon in November, he is at his desk reviewing a proposal from a small shipping operator in a coastal city 3 hours north. When his door opens, it's always open, that's the rule, and Anna leans in with a coffee and a folder. "The Milo thing," she says. He looks up.
Yeah.
He's opened a consultancy. Listed himself as former strategic partner of Hargrove Holdings. She sets the folder on his desk. "Our legal team says we have options." He looks at the folder. "What kind of options?" "A letter clarifying the nature of the relationship." Which was a vendor, 1 contract, not renewed. She pauses. It would be quite embarrassing, sent to the right people. He sits with this for a moment. Through his window, the one he chose, the afternoon light is doing something specific and golden to the city, the kind of light that only happens in November when the sun drops early and everything goes briefly amber. "Send the letter," he says. Standard language. No personal notes. "Of course. And Anna." She pauses in the doorway. "Thank you," he says. "For the voicemail." Still. She nods, once, the kind of nod that carries everything it needs to carry and nothing it doesn't. She pulls the door halfway closed behind her, not shut, not open, the exact right amount. He goes back to the proposal. The shipping operator's name is Delgado Coastal Freight, run by a woman named Rosa Delgado who has been moving goods up and down a 200-mile stretch of coastline for 11 years with 2 trucks and no money for a third. Her application is 2 pages long and written in the kind of plain, specific English that comes from someone who has spent their whole life explaining themselves to rooms that weren't listening. He reads it twice. He writes approve in the margin in his grandfather's handwriting. He's noticed himself doing this lately, not intentionally, just the shape of it. He slides it to the top of the outbox. Outside, the city is doing what the city does. People going somewhere, or going home, or going nowhere in particular, all of it indistinguishable from the outside. The light is holding for another minute, maybe 2, before the amber tips over into gray. He sits in it for a moment. The plant on the windowsill, he moved it from the bigger office, felt strange leaving it, has put out 2 new leaves in the past few weeks. Small ones. The kind you almost miss if you're not paying attention. He's paying attention. He picks up his pen. He gets back to work.